Welcome to Mine Explorers, episode 71.
Just getting right into it.
Yeah, jumping right in.
Okay.
The best way to warm up is by just shooting, right? I mean, we could sit and just shoot the breeze, but it seems like if you and I actually have a conversation before the episode, it's actually like really good quality stuff. And then when I go to edit it later, yes, I edit all the videos myself. I don't know how to like rework it back into the conversation. So we have like good content that we miss. So, you know.
Episode 70 already.
71.
71.
Yeah, but it's been a while since we've been in the studio, which is why Crystal said she's rusty.
I'm rusty.
Because we filmed with Kevin Smith underground.
Yep.
And then the next week we talked about Viking silver and different stuff. Or actually we did that before. Then we filmed with Kevin. Then I went to Cornwall and I filmed an episode in Cornwall and posted from Cornwall. Mm-hmm. And now today we're due for another one. So we're back in the studio after a while.
Back in the studio.
And it's been interesting. So while we've been out of the studio for 3 weeks now. Mm-hmm. While we've been out, it's actually been a weird, like there's industry stuff going on, but the feverish pace from before has kind of slowed down. I've noticed that a lot of this speculative froth has come out of especially like precious metals and some of the critical minerals as well. Mm-hmm. And now we're back to like kind of solid people bumping along. I hope that one of my concerns is obviously when retail gets too frothy and they're like piling into stuff, it creates volatility and it's not the kind of investment we want in the sector. But I am a little concerned because they were driving a lot of the juniors in critical minerals. And I've been looking at a lot of their stocks have really just been swimming sideways for about a year, especially things like antimony, stuff like that, some of the tungsten, even though tungsten prices are still at all-time highs and have stayed there.
Well, it's weird because over the last couple of weeks, gold has been dropping quite a bit. I mean, it was under 4,000 just recently.
Yeah, so we can jump right into that. Gold is right around 4,000. It's found support there. So it's dipped below a little bit and it did what's called a death cross, which usually signifies you're going to see another 10 to 20% drop. And then now it's come back up. So it's hovering above 4,000. It's like 4,060 an ounce today.
Okay.
But year over year, we're down about 12% now.
Yeah.
Or year to date. Sorry, year over year, we're still up like 30%, but
yeah,
year to date.
Yeah, year to date. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting. But what I like about it, I'm actually very happy to see it at these levels because the speculative froth's gone. And what we're seeing is strong central bank buying. Mm-hmm. We're still seeing ballooning debt and de-dollarization and all the other big factors that are still driving gold. We just don't have the pillar of that strong retail interest, which is fine. It'll come back. They obviously chase late. They get into cycles late. So we're kind of hovering along there. Silver is around $60 an ounce. Pretty much the same story as gold. Mm-hmm. Industrial demand has cooled a little bit, but not substantially. And so there's not issues there. But obviously like the retail froth is cooled a lot, which is good. I mean, $60 an ounce for many of our clients who are silver producers is a great price. They still make really good margins at that.
So is this a good indicator that things are stabilizing and that this is kind of like the new floor, the kind of like we've been talking about, like this is where prices will probably stay or be the bottom and then they will rise again and then we'll kind of like see more of this like up and down cycle?
So with gold and silver in particular, I think this is it's a springboard to go higher.
Yeah.
But I could see another few months bouncing along at around these levels, 4,000 an ounce gold, maybe dipping down as low as 3,600. Silver maybe breaking back down into the 50s, maybe even the high 40s before it begins the next leg up. Because like we've talked about before, or I just talked about, the fundamental big drivers are still very much in place. Like central bank gold buying is high as it's ever been.
Right.
It's still going. So I wouldn't call it a new floor, but I would say that we could still go a little bit lower, but it's definitely a stronger point of consolidation to make the other leg.
Okay.
And now that a lot of the froths come out of the system. Copper is at $6.24 a pound today, which is pretty good. Good solid. I mean, once again, a lot of our copper producers and explorers are quite comfortable above $6, so that's really good. But once again, the same thing, like copper demand with all these, like I know NIMBY is killing AI data centers and slowing them down, and there's obviously an enormous amount of materials and things that are needed. I've read that capacitors are in shortage now. We've gotten through some of the memory crunches, and now it's capacitors that's causing a lot of the bottleneck.
It's going to be an endless cycle of something is going to be in short
Right.
supply. Yeah, I mean, they're essentially building mini cities all over all over the world, right? And we're seeing it here in the U.S. quite a few all over the country, and it's just like the amount of power and just raw materials is just staggering. So yeah, there's definitely going to be supply chains, and there's absolutely going to be NIMBYism, because I mean we're in a fight for resources right now. I mean, the West is in a complete drought.
Yeah, and we never know with all these different NIMBY groups and everything, like what the different motivations are.
Yeah.
We don't know how much of the funding's coming from China and different places.
Right, and that's the frustrating
who very
part.
much don't want us to have a lot of data center capacity.
Well, because it's a race, right? We're in a race for this AI technology, and I don't know. It's frustrating because, like, you want, like, there's NIMBYism has its place. I will say that it does have its place, but when it's backed by foreign entities that should not have a say here, then that's where it gets messy.
Or just, dark money, NGOs and different things. Like there's a lot of sketchy stuff. Like things are being funded almost rarely, if ever, for the face value reasons of why things are being opposed.
No, for sure. There's
It's
always
almost
something
never
dark.
that. There's some sort of back agenda.
Yeah.
But regardless of any of that, copper demand is going to increase.
Always.
And we are in a shortage. And a lot of these projects that are starting to move forward still have a long time to go before they get to production. Mm-hmm. So even like Resolution, we're still 10 years out from seeing it make a meaningful dent in domestic supply.
I mean, the U.S. timeline for conception to producing is 29 years on average.
Yep.
Second longest jurisdiction on the planet.
Yeah, which is insane.
It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting better, but I think it's got a really long way to go.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't do any meaningful changes on that type of timeline. Like, that's decades. I mean, how many administrations have passed through that, right? Like, and they all have their own opinion. They all have their own agenda. And it's
they'll roll stuff back.
They roll stuff back, and it's just like, it's slow.
Yep, very slow. So I just got back from Cornwall, and I think that it was really cool. So I obviously did some research before I went. And in the last episode, I talked a lot about the Cousin Jack legacy and some of the implications of that. And I just wanted to do a short recap in case you missed the last episode, or to tell you about it because you haven't seen the last episode.
Nor have I been to Cornwall.
Right. So the Cornish miners, Cornwall's very rich in tin and copper. And those two together make bronze. So we have this whole Bronze Age in history, and a lot of that bronze came from Cornwall. And they traded in ancient times, and they mined it there. And then they eventually shifted to mining with more modern methods, and they chased these high-grade veins deep under the ocean, actually out a mile out under the ocean.
Wow.
And in doing that, they needed to, the UK was a huge hub in steam technology at the time. So some of the earliest and best steam engines were being built in the UK. And really cool, I went to the British Science Museum in London, which is huge, beautiful displays, really interesting. the kind of place you could spend multiple days. And they have some really great intact steam engines, including the world's first steam locomotive.
Cool.
Is there. The world's oldest.
Wow.
It's still there from like 1812.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And
amazing.
they've got the whole thing there. And they've got some big pumps like they would use with the Cornish pumps. So one of the first places they deployed the steam technology was in mining in the UK. So they used it at the coal mines, obviously, to haul coal and to pump. And they used it at the tin mines in Cornwall. And they developed this pumping technology so they could dewater these mines. And not only were they dewatering fresh water, but they were dewatering seawater under the ocean. So these pumps were working hard. Tin and copper prices, like throughout all of history, have been subject to boom and bust and crashes. So there have been several crashes over the centuries. And there was one big one in the 1800s. And a lot of the Cornish miners, up to 500,000, up to 500,000 Cornish miners, left Cornwall to go work in other mining districts around the world. So they went to Australia, they went to South Africa, they went to Mexico, they went to South America, and they came here to the United States. They went to Virginia City, they came here to Utah, to Park City. They went all around, and they brought with them their technology and some of their terminology and some of the things that they had. So the Cornish miners had the Cornish pump that they brought with them. They were some of the earliest to adopt the idea of contract mining, actually working on a contract. They were also some of the earliest to unionize and have worker protections, including they would have funds, pools, where they would pool their wages for healthcare and medical aid and things like that. And then they brought with them a lot of different terminology and technologies and things. And then, of course, the Cornish pasty, which is delicious and awesome. And I ate many of them for research, of course. So really cool to see. And I got to go to Geaver Tin Mine, which you can tour the mine and the mill. Well, you can tour some of the mine. It's a small, it reminded me of the Tom Sawyer Island at Disneyland, where they have some tunnels and stuff you can go through. It was really small and obviously just exploratory drifts and stuff that were near surface. No real mining. Like there's a couple of stopes, like little stopes and raises and winzes, but you can look down the shaft, you can see the mill. Unfortunately, so the mine shut down and they kept the pumps going up until the 90s, and they actually spray painted on a locker there when the mine shut down, and I'll put a picture of that up. But the in 1990, but they kept the pumps running for about 4 years after tin prices crashed, and all the mining went to Malaysia and it went to Bolivia.
Oh wow. Okay.
And so all the tin, which is where they'd previously sent their concentrate, and they did that, and then they eventually opened up their own deposits and just cut Cornwall out entirely. So the last mines that are shut down really in the 90s, Geaver shut down, and they turned off the pumps eventually in 1990. But to keep the pumps running, they sold off, unfortunately, a lot of their mill equipment. So the mill's missing some of the big ball mills and the crushers and some of the stuff, because they sold that off so they could keep the pumps running.
I mean, running a pump, I imagine, is quite expensive.
Well, and they're huge, and they're dewatering the ocean.
Right.
Yeah, so...
It's not like that's just going to go away.
Yeah, it's constant.
So how big was the mine when it was dewatered? Like how many... Did they have a map of the tunnels? Was it just like a honeycomb?
Yeah, so they had the engineer models that they built that you see at a lot of old mines, where they're lucky enough to still be preserved, where they actually built a physical model with
those were so
string
cool.
and wood, and they painted it with the different levels and the shafts.
Yes.
And it's huge. It takes up a whole room, literally the size of our studio.
You know, we should do an episode on a side tangent to Eureka, Utah, and look at their model, because they have one.
Yep. So, I mean, it's an early 3D model, right? And you can look with the engineers, they can look at the ore bodies and look at the orientation.
Yeah.
So they had about, I want to say about 100 miles
of
workings at Geaver, because there were multiple shafts that were all part of the same. So there's the Levant, and then there's Geaver, and then there's the Wheel Mexico mine, and then there's a dozen other mines that are all connected in that same area. And they went down, the shaft went down about, I want to say about 1,500 feet.
Okay.
And then they went out about
That's
a mile
decent.
under the ocean.
Wow.
To mine. And
That's a lot of dewatering.
A lot of dewatering. So our tour guides, the tour guides, they try to pull from a pool of former miners, which they can still do.
Wow.
Obviously not forever, but they can do it for a while. So our miner, Grant, and I actually found a picture of him that I showed in the last episode of when he was young working in the mine. He started working there when he was 17, just breaking rocks. He said that he mined a mile under the ocean before he quit, which was pretty cool, before the mine shut down. And then he said his career took him a whole bunch of different places around the world, and then he eventually came back to be a tour guide there.
That's
which
cool.
was
He came back home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was pretty interesting. I mean, they're definitely like have a lot of pride in their operation and the work that they did. And they're definitely pissed that they got undercut by other people and had to shut the mines down, because obviously none of them ran out of ore. And there's still plenty of ore there. They just got
So was the
undercut.
main reason of them being shut down was the low prices? I mean, the fluctuating prices can kill a mine.
So,
But then also removing all of their processing to other countries?
so they were doing, they were outsourcing the final smelting and refining, which obviously is expensive and lowers your costs because you're just selling concentrate. But they were mining deep, high-grade veins underground. And the mines that open up in Malaysia and Bolivia are lower grade, open cut surface mines. So your costs, I mean, obviously, and by this time, the Cornish were highly unionized, highly organized. And so very expensive labor in Bolivia and Malaysia in the 80s is children and slaves, basically.
Right, you can't
So it's
compete
almost
with
free
that.
labor.
Yeah.
And so when you're open cut mining with free labor, or you're using highly organized, skilled labor to mine high grade veins underground, like obviously you can't compete. I mean, you get completely undercut. And we're seeing that all the time in different commodities.
Oh, that's still happening now.
But there is modern exploration for tin going in Cornwall.
Really?
And the day before the Sea Shanty Festival in Falmouth ended, which was a lot of fun, the day before that ended, they had a Cornish tin mining conference talking about exploration in Cornwall.
Oh, wow.
And obviously I didn't attend, family trip and a bunch of other things, but it would have been pretty interesting. But they're doing exploration for tin and copper, and they're also looking at lithium, doing direct lithium extraction, like there are a lot of other places around the world.
Interesting. Lithium.
Yep.
I guess it's found everywhere.
Yeah, and they have tungsten too. Tin,
Yeah.
tungsten. Really great geology. And it was fascinating to see. There's old mines throughout all of Cornwall.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
And old ones too, I'm sure.
Old ones, yeah.
Yeah, ancient mines.
Yeah, so some of obviously like the Bronze Age, they were mining and trading there, ancient traders. And then they mined all the way up into, I think, early 2000s when the last tin mine shut down.
Okay. Huh.
Yep.
I mean, it'd be so neat to go into a mine that's hundreds and hundreds of years old. Because, like, we get excited about the older ones here in the U.S., but they're like, I think the oldest one we've ever been into was the Silver War mine. Yeah,
so the Wheel Mexico that I went in on the surface, it's probably at least a few hundred years old, where they mine there. And then, in Guanajuato, we went into a mine that was at least a few hundred years old.
Yeah, that was really neat.
But not thousands of years old, which is interesting. But there are mines out there that are. It's hard to find, because thousands of years ago, they were mining literally just whatever's on the surface and chasing it underground a little bit. Couldn't go too deep.
Right, you're not going to find extensive workings.
But if you're finding outcrops on the surface, that means in later decades, centuries, they're mining it out more.
Yeah.
So a lot of those old areas don't really exist anymore.
No, it's true.
Or they just get completely naturally reclaimed where you can't even see them anymore. You see these huge pyramids that get completely eaten by the jungle you imagine old mining workings that old? It'd be the same thing. So I'll let you talk about our next segment.
Oh, the mergings. Yeah.
Big announcements.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah. So lots of activity going on in construction aggregate right now.
Weirdly, it's been quiet for M&A.
It feels like it's out of the blue,
It
but
was
you
quiet
know
for
how...
months, and there wasn't anything. And then 2 mega deals just got announced in the last week.
2 mega deals. So Martin Marietta and
Loest.
I'm always afraid I'm going to say it wrong, which
Yeah,
I probably
everybody does.
will.
They have a video. Loest, who's a Belgian company. They're a producer of high-grade limestone, which we've talked about on this show. They have a video online of where they go around and interview people about how to say their name. And I called it El Hoist for a long time.
We called it La Hoist for a long time.
Or La Hoist, which I like La Hoist. I think it sounds good, but it's just Loest.
Loest. Just Loest. Yeah. Okay, so Martin Marietta and Loest have officially, are merging.
Well, Martin Marietta is buying
They are
Loest.
buying.
It's not a merger, it's a purchase.
They are acquiring Loest for $13.5 billion.
Yep.
That is wild because Loest has many different operations throughout the U.S.
And they produce high-grade lime for a whole bunch of different things, industrial applications.
Yep, so this is part of what sounds like Martin Marietta's overall strategy of getting into other segments of downstream consumers, and so to kind of help with the volatility of what we're seeing in construction aggregate. So it's a good play on Martin Marietta.
Well, and it's high grade.
Not
high grade, high margin.
High
products.
margin, yep.
Once you have the reserves and the infrastructure and the markets built out, it's very high margin.
Oh, yeah.
Because the barriers to entry are so high, because the products that Loest sells require kilns and lots of permitting, and they have lots of emissions and different hurdles that they have to go through. So the barriers to entry are high, and so Loest and Graymont and others who produce these specialty lime products have a really good defensive moat. And so it's something that Martin Marietta can buy and continue to run and do really well. But there's another angle.
The data angle. Is that what you're talking about?
No, Loest doesn't produce construction aggregate. They produce specialty lime.
Right.
But they mine a large amount of limestone to get to the high-grade subset. So they have literally hundreds of millions of tons of waste rock dumps around the world, around the United States, because they're buying Loest, North America. They have hundreds of millions of tons of rock around North America that can be crushed by Martin Marietta and sold as construction aggregates. That's already mined.
So it's a win-win for Martin Marietta. They're like, great, you have all this waste rock. We know how to sell it.
Right. And they get the profits from the specialty lime business. So
that's wild.
Yep.
$13.5 billion deal. Good for them. And then CRH and Arcosa so CRH is acquiring Arcosa for $8.5 billion in an all-cash transaction.
Yep.
109 quarries and yards that will advance CRH's strategy to capture the high growth of U.S. metropolitan markets.
Yeah, so CRH owns a lot. I mean, they're huge.
Huge.
They own tons of other producers, and CRH is hard to measure their size because they keep a lot of the branding and names from a lot of the subsidiaries they buy instead of just making them all.
They're a quiet giant.
Yeah, they are. I mean, not so quiet, but pretty quiet. I mean, I was just around the UK and I saw tons of CRH trucks and subsidiaries.
Yeah.
So they're all over the world. But it's a big acquisition. So Arcosa is big in Texas. They're big in Louisiana. They're big in the Midwest. That's really their area where they control a lot of market share.
And Arcosa, are they construction aggregate? They do rock, right? Because they
Sand, gravel, and crushed
gravel.
stone.
Right. Okay.
They're strictly aggregates. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So
Yep.
it's not like, so Martin Marietta is merging. Or acquiring. That's more of a strategic play, and then CRH is just expanding their
They're just
footprint.
continuing to consolidate. So we had a great conversation with Barry Hudson yesterday, and he's really prolific in the aggregate industry globally. He's literally in a different country every day when you talk to him, and he does a lot of strategy for a lot of companies in the industry. And he made a really good point. He said, there's these mega deals and these acquisitions going on, but in the United States, he said the top 6 producers or so still only control 40% of the market.
Right.
So it's still hugely unconsolidated. And he contrasted that to the UK, where he said the top 2 own 80% of the production. So there's still a lot more consolidation that we'll see, which is where we try to position ourselves with our market analysis services and Mineralocity and our intelligent platform, is to help position companies to deal with these things. Because even just those 2 acquisitions create all sorts of downstream shockwaves and reshuffling. Because after acquisitions of that size, there's divestitures. Divestitures. That's a weird word. They have to divest assets. They'll have to shed assets. And then there's the shell game that goes on, Quikrete buys Summit, and then they sell off a bunch of the aggregates so that they can fund other things that they want to do. They really wanted a cement plant in Texas, so they had to sell some of their aggregates, and they had to, there's all this shuffling and things that go on. So it's never quite a clean, just gobbling up all the little things. It creates a lot of other effects in the industry.
Yeah.
That we navigate and help our clients navigate.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting when mergers of this size happen, though. So, but it's a very dynamic world.
It's over $20 billion in acquisitions announced in 1 week.
Yeah.
In aggregates.
Yeah.
That's big. And lime, especially lime. Loest will now produce a lot of aggregates under Martin Marietta, very likely. And then obviously that's specialty lime. So I have experience with that. I modeled a bunch of specialty lime for Gunnison Copper for their latest PEA. We eventually settled on the cement market because Arizona is strong and growing, and they have perfect limestone for cement. But they could also get into the specialty lime market with that cement. And so we did a lot of financial analysis and modeling for that. And it is a really lucrative business, but very high capital intensity. There's a lot of moats around it, same as the cement industry. But we settled on cement just as really because Loest and Graymont have such a tight grip on the market. Getting into that market would be very difficult. Whereas the cement market is really tightly controlled, but there's a lot of imports and things that can be offset that create a foothold. Whereas with the specialty lime, everybody's got long-term contracts already.
Right. Yeah, those are hard to break up.
So Martin Marietta's in it now, and they're huge. They're now going to be one of the top producers. It's Graymont and Loest are kind of neck and neck in that. So, but I think Loest might be a little bit bigger. Yeah.
Wild. Yeah, well, we'll see what happens with everything else.
What do you think, Blue? He's gray.
Oh, no.
Gray, blue.
Is he part of Graymont?
They're interesting folks. Obviously, like the FGIM and stuff, we get to hang out with industrial lime producers and talk to some of those guys, which is always interesting. But yeah, thanks for watching episode 71. Good to be back in the studio, just having a little more of a casual chat. But we are definitely going to be getting back out in the field, getting some more guests on the show, keeping that excitement up. I mean, our view counts, not that we really care that much about it, but I noticed they're 2 to 3 times higher when we're out in the field doing stuff.
Well, field stuff is far more interesting.
B-roll and things versus just sitting here having a chat. But yeah, it's fun. Glad you guys watched.
Local
really appreciate
tours.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
We'll
Cool.
see you next week.